Welcome to Nkhani Zathu, the pod that tells indigenous stories every day, the platform that tells you what's good and what's odd for young people and elderly alike in the areas of art, history, and culture preservation.
It's a lovely time. Again, we are here with Nkhani Zathu. Nkhani Zathu, this is the platform where we bring the best of storytellers. One of the stories that humanity celebrates is the life of Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. And certain publishers had this book done just before the man joined the ancestors. Today, we have a privilege to host one of Dr. Kaunda's son, and who is also a great storyteller of our time. Nkhani Zathu is brought to you and is powered by Software Publishers. And our aim is to disseminate information that communicates to the arts, our culture, mindset transformation, and the end goal is that we need to change the narrative. Join me on this captivating time as we interact with Tilyenji Kaunda. Welcome to Nkhani Zathu.
Sydney, a pleasure as always.
Great. Somebody may wish to know who is Tilyenji Kaunda.
Okay, in terms of biodata, I was born in 1954 in Tilyenji. I went to the first 4 years. I went to school in Tilyenji itself. At that time, there was segregation in terms of schools.
Yeah.
Whites went to white schools, blacks went to black schools, and colored and Indians went to colored and Indian schools. That's how it was. So the first 4 years I spent there, and then when it came to going to grade 5, that was 1964, and the schools were desegregated.
Okay.
And I went to Woodlands Primary School. We joined some white kids there. I had to spend 1 year learning English. So I repeated my grade 5. And then from there I went to Kamwala. After we finished that Kamwala, then I was able to go to a university. And I came back with a degree in politics and psychology. And then I worked in the civil service for about 3 years or so. Then went into business. Then after that, I went into politics. Spent 20 years in politics.
Were you fired in the civil service? Maybe
No, I just left.
Okay, so we'll
left.
get back to appreciate
Yeah.
more of your journey and how it has been as we continue to interact.
Okay.
Now, just tell me 3 things.
Three
Things,
Okay.
and of those 3 things,
Uh,
my responsibility will be to pick which one will be a lie and which will be the truth. So
Okay.
just to
to pick the lie and the thing.
and the truth.
Yeah, I think I
those.
saw something like this on your program once.
Yeah, it's a signature that we try to ask our
Okay.
guests.
All right, okay.
It's good to even know that you follow our Nkhani Zathu.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So I tell you 3 things
Yes, and on those I need to.
to pick one which is true.
Yeah. Which
So I
is the
must tell
truth,
2
right?
lies.
Yeah, at least.
Okay.
Of the 3.
1, I'm a vegetarian. 2, I live in Zimbabwe. And 3, I think of my home as Jumbe.
Well, that sounds very interesting, and the way you have just presented, and yeah, I like the courage in just sharing.
Uh,
You are a vegetarian.
uh,
You live in Zimbabwe. I doubt both of them. I quite doubt the 2. Yeah. So it's a pleasure to have you on this program,
Thank you.
Mr. Kaunda, and
Thank you.
we understand, and the entire world knows Kaunda was an influential figure not only in Zambia,
Absolutely.
and this is the person for you. Is not only a president, a freedom fighter, or what many other people do, but is your father.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just try to give us your memories of him, just about
Yes.
him.
Yes.
What do you know about? Yeah, we start with your grandparents and him coming up, and yeah,
Yes.
let's just dive in that.
It's true. Okay. Obviously, I didn't meet my grandfather on my father's side, but I met my grandmother. She was
Yeah.
a grand woman. She was very tall. And of course, she was very well educated, and she brought up a whole family by herself. She was given land by Chief Tumkulu where she could stay. We call that place Shambalakare. Shambalakare. And that's where she brought them up. I believe she did a good
Maybe
job.
just as what does Shambarakare mean? Does it mean I've been provoked before?
It depends. It depends. If you some might say if you're from Marita's area, you might say an old farm.
Okay.
Okay. If you remember, you can say they started me a long time ago. So you can say, but otherwise, I think that the Shambarakare is a more from the Tumbuka side.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's good to appreciate that because for me, my instinct immediately is Shambarakare. So I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Was there anybody who says I was provoked?
Yes, absolutely.
Is it colonialism or what is it that actually got somebody provoked?
No, it was an old farm.
It's an old farm, so
and
like from
farm.
a Tumbuka context, from that background. Okay, it's good to appreciate that Shambarakare actually may have those connotations, but in this sense means an old farm.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, you could continue then the journey as it were.
Well, and then after I joined politics in 2000, and I left in 2021 because they said no, I've spent enough time there. Now it's time to do other things.
Okay.
Because I remember that the person talking about Dr. Kenneth Kaunda said that there are other ways of serving man apart from being in politics.
There are other ways of serving man, but now in this time around, for being gender sensitive, we talk about humanity.
Okay, serving humanity.
Rather than
in our old school, man was universal.
Okay.
But now, since language is changing,
you
must say man and women, men and serve man and woman.
Yeah, but it's where people are finding it's more kind to say humanity, and it embraces everybody.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
but if I make a mistake and I say man again, don't blame me.
Okay. Yeah. No, for the audience, for this particular thing, we understand that you're
recorded, old-fashioned.
You are from the old school, and it could be understood in that context. But
yes, it's meant not.
But this generation. We are saying the old dog has to learn the new skills.
I have seen that.
I accept.
No, and I accept. I accept it.
Yeah. Okay. So you were giving us a journey from the grandparents, Shambarakare, and also maybe just run us through the life of Kaunda now, his childhood, and then how he got into politics.
I think that the politics, in terms of his perspective, must have started when he was very young.
Okay.
Because as you know, his parents were interacting also with white missionaries and things like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in Jesus Christ taught us that there's no slave, there's no Gentile, there's no Jew. We're all equal. But the missionaries who came, some of them did not behave that way. For instance, if an African came to their house, to their door, they were asked to remove their shoes.
Okay.
I'm sure I heard. I think it was Mr. Sokoni who complained about that. And I think that those are kind of practices that began causing tensions between the blacks and the whites.
So when
you grew up in that environment.
When the child of not black, so we can say an African or an indigenous child comes in, they have moved their shoes.
Must move their shoes.
But they're going to see the same missionary.
The same missionaries, yes.
Then the other person from
if he's white,
Europe,
if they're white, no, they don't move their shoes.
They don't move their shoes.
So it was things like so. You grew up in that environment, and also I think that what point him as well is that his beginning was quite a bit rough. His father died when he was 8 years old, and he had issues with finding school fees, and I think it was a shopkeeper, I think Mandala chain of shops, which helped them in the first year. And this was a school which his father helped to found.
Okay.
But he was not going to make it into school if he didn't pay the 2 and 6. That was required. 2 shillings 6 pence those days.
Yeah.
So But he was a brilliant child. He was smart, and his mother taught him well, as she taught the other children. She gave them a Christian education background. That's why he found that he was always a Bible was always near his bedside. In fact, even now, if I took you to his bedroom, which we locked up, there are lots of Bibles there.
Okay.
And he also imparted that to his children as well.
Okay.
So nominally we are Christians. How deep or what we believe, it depends on
Yeah.
on
You
God's
are
judgment.
evolving, getting more spiritual sometimes than religious.
Yes, you know it is.
Yeah.
So we also grew up like that.
Was Keke a spiritual person or a religious?
I think both.
Okay.
He was spiritual because one of the things he said is that what can you say? He said we haven't done enough research into the spiritual realm. Okay, so we didn't do that. And that he took from his being religious. He read his Bible. In fact, we used to have good discussions on that.
Okay.
I remember one time, I told him, I said that, I think I must have been 14 or 13. I said, Dad, of course, remember you said Tata, but we're talking English.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, I think I can resolve the conflict between the evolutionists and the ones who believe that man was created that creation was by God.
Yeah.
Okay, it was by creation and evolution. I said there's a way of finding a solution to that. So we used to have such discussions with him. And if you went to his library, there were religious books in his library.
Yeah.
Apart from other books, and he allowed us to roam through his library freely. Okay, so he was that kind of person, so religious and spiritual. So and he was. There's a book that he had. I mentioned at one interview I had. He had a special book that he gave me, In Tune with the Infinite.
Okay,
You
that
must
sounds
look for it.
an influence, a it's rich title.
Yes, it's a difficult read, but it was a nice one. I remember I enjoyed it. So In Tune with the Infinite. Mm-hmm. So he believed in reading things like that, and he was interested in doing research into the spiritual world.
Okay, so Mr. Chanda Kaunda.
Oh, you've added that as well.
Yeah, we're adding
But
Chanda.
do you know the full name?
Tilyenji Chanda Kaunda.
No, the full one. The full one is Tilyenji Kaunda Chamchanya Kaunda.
Oh. No, I didn't know that the Chamchanya part.
Those are my full names, but they wouldn't fit on the reg card.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we hope we could then do with the reg. What do you think? So that we can know all your names.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, so thank you very much for just giving us a synopsis of the man and his journey. So in April, 28th of April,
yes,
2024,
yes,
we have Kaunda's 100th birthday.
Yes.
And then it's an essential time for the nation and humanity to reflect on the man and his life. Could you share with us and the people following us on various platforms? Because Nkhani Zathu features on YouTube, Spotify, and Amazon Music, different platforms that we interact with our listeners and viewers. What are some of the core values that the man had embodied?
The one that he followed, first of all, I think it was that you must love your fellow man the way Jesus Christ directed. Love one another as I have loved you. That was very strong. And his interpretation, when he explained to people, he would say that love your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your strength, and all your soul. That's the first part. The second part, love your neighbor as thyself. Yeah. And you know what you Christians say. You say that how can you claim to love the God whom you don't see, but you fail to love the man whom you see? So he believed that there is no one who's beyond redemption. he believed that no one is beyond redemption.
Okay.
And that no matter how bad a person might seem, as long as they breathe, redemption is always available to them. So he believed that we should always talk for one another. We should avoid conflict. And I think as long as you're talking, then peace is possible. So he did believe in peace, loving one another. I believe that. And he also believed, I think, that you are not free as long as some other person, someone else, some other part of the world is not free. Okay. So that struggle continues. He had a special thing for Africa, where he said that there's our slogan, one Zambia, one nation. Yeah. But that's not a complete slogan. Okay. It was one Zambia, one nation. One nation, one Africa. One Africa, one revolution. One revolution. Okay. In fact, you can even put one strong revolution. Okay. So he was a Pan-Africanist. And also he believed in the unity of all Africans across the whole world. In fact, today I was just going through his things, and I found a picture of two photographs. One, he was with Martin Luther King in the States. Yeah. And next one, he was paying homage on his grave. Now he had gray. On the first picture, his hair was all black. Mm-hmm. Second picture, his hair was gray, but he was with Mrs. King, and they were paying homage to Martin Luther King's grave. So I saw those two pictures. I thought that this
Times
one,
apart.
Yes, but it showed that his interest that our children were taken from here to other lands, and many perished along the way. I believe the figure, I think, I remember Komika Chikoti might say about 60 million perished, was the history of the student of history. But we must not forget that those are us. Yeah. Those people are us. So it's important that we maintain that unity. And I think it is those things that drove him to the Caribbean islands. He visited those. On one occasion, I was privileged to be with him when he was in Jamaica. But I know he'd been to Guyana, and they went to, when Forrest Beham was there, and he's been to the Bahamas. So I think that he believed in that. But the other interesting thing, which I think people tend to forget, when we're fighting the apartheid regime in South Africa, he said this. He said, "We're not fighting just to free the Africans. We're also fighting to free the white people also, because they're also in bondage in terms of their
that's a great thinking. So if somebody is oppressing another, they are also in bondage. They're also not
They're also
free.
in bondage. Okay. Yeah, a bondage of fear, whatever it is. So you also believe that.
That's a unique thinking, I would say.
And also, of course, he was very strong in terms of preserving the African community, because he said that in terms of African culture, there is no such thing as an orphan, because with a social net where you've got uncles, aunties, and so on. So if his parents die, then the larger social net picks them up. And I saw an example of this, because every time we'd go to the village in Chinsali, in Chambalakale, the eating arrangements were this. There was a place which they call Misaka. Basically, it's an open place with a thatched roof. And then what would happen that each house would bring plates of food, and then we would all share.
So do you mean that at the time you would go for the Sambarakari, what was happening to the state chef and others? You would change into they just being like a commoners, they are saying everybody brings food, and how was that working?
Okay, what would happen is that in the earlier days, because before he became president, this was the prevalent thing. Yeah. Of course, when he became president and would go there, I think, and the other families would come to the house, to the main house, and that's where we would meet as a family community.
Okay. Now, Kaunda is known to be. I wish Matias was the one here. Yes. Yeah, but I understand he's one of the presidents who has done things differently. He believed in indigenous values, traditional cultures,
Mm.
and we had to add, is it Fisungu for Bachelor State House?
Yes, I think they had.
And
I can't. I didn't because I was aware, so I didn't. But they had that.
yeah.
Although I think one or two of them protested.
Okay, why?
But well, I think you should ask them when you meet them.
Okay.
The other one is the one I was arguing with on the phone when you.
Okay, yeah.
She protested.
Yeah.
But still, she went through it. That was
Okay.
more mom than dad. Of course, that side is the mom thing.
Yeah.
But I think that what's important is that we shouldn't concentrate on just one ceremony.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a continuous teaching
Yeah.
of the families on what our African culture is.
In the lights
Because
of passage.
because when you lose your culture, then you lose yourself. Another cultures will overtake you, and you'll be lost.
Yeah.
So it's important that you know where you come from. You know that famous saying that if you don't know where you're coming from,
you will not know where you are and where you are going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that it's important.
And
that
the country which doesn't know its history,
then
it
can, yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Now, comrade, just before we touch more on how we are going to remember Keke and what is lined up for 100th birthday, just take us in State House and as a family living there with the president. What is it that made you be different from other citizens? The systems, the security, and other bits. What is it that could have maybe transformed, or what was the challenge for the president then to be with you and also to interact with other people?
Yes. Obviously, he was a workaholic.
Okay.
Okay, and he loved his work and he believed in it. That's why I think if I don't know if he told you when you met him that I want young people to run, don't walk, run.
Yeah, he always said, young people, you have to run, and we need when you are still have a blood, you need to run and chase the things and change this nation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So at that time, fortunately, at that time the living quarters were in State House, and his offices were also in State House.
Okay.
So there was always an interaction between us.
Okay.
It was only later when that scenario changed that they built the
Nkwazi house?
No. Before Nkwazi, there's a house.
The old guest house.
Not the old guest house is by Independence Avenue.
Okay.
But there was a house where the vice president used to live in.
Okay.
And so within the State House yard.
Yes.
So when he relocated, then we moved there. So then he would leave home and go to work. Because if you remember,
you go by foot.
Sometimes even walk to, because it was near. There were parts they would walk there. So that's when now we saw less of him. But otherwise, in the beginning, the living quarters were
and the office was
were also there. So we grew up like that, fairly close. And I remember that because of his status, we used to see soldiers saluting him.
Yeah.
So when we'd be at home and we hear his cars coming, all of us kids would go and line up at the front door and give him a grand salute.
That is nice.
Like little soldiers, like little soldiers,
Soldiers. Yeah. And how would he react to that?
I think he found it fun. He would be, he'd be happy. So, and also, of course, he was a believer in waste not, want not.
Yeah, okay.
He didn't want to see you leaving food on your plate.
Okay.
Because he said, you're fortunate. He said, there are other kids out there who don't have the food that you have. So don't play with your food, don't waste it. And that he told us throughout. Even when I was old, one time I remember when we went to the Libyan embassy in South Africa. This after I left office. And I saw some nice looking food, so I took it. And then when I bit it, I didn't like it. But then he noticed this, so when he looked at me, and because it was a round table with everybody was there, so he said, "Pusha, money, pusha."
Finish.
Finish. Yeah. So he always that thing that we should not waste. Don't waste your food. In other words, take what you think you can consume. Take what you know you consume. Don't pile up, and then just end up wasting it. So just as a homeless, those people who don't have enough food, you must remember those who don't have. So
Those are some of the interesting stories that you might have not heard from anyone, and the thoughts that the president had. And we are having a conversation at Nkhani Zathu, on Nkhani Zathu podcast, which is powered by Software Publishers, with Tilyenji Kaunda. And this is one of the great storytellers of our times that gives us and invites us close and brings us inside. Like he had just shared a bit of what what's happening in State House. But we want to establish, as we prepare to celebrate the 100th birthday for President Kaunda, and just get to interact more and appreciate, because the story of the man is the story of humanity. It's our story. It's the story of Zambia's journey, and it's the story of many countries that has benefited from the man's fight for independence, for social justice, for the cause of peace, the cause of unity, and just being our persons and people of values, the people of different mindset. And by the way, as we mentioned, in Nkhani Zathu is about promoting positive mindset and changing the narrative. So, comrade, as we continue interacting, it sounds wonderful to go through the memory. So, how do you envision as the family, like not only say as Zambia, but now we're coming to the Kaunda family, in preserving and promoting Kaunda's legacy for future generations? What are some of the things that we expect and that we are working on and you envision and that we may wish to buy in?
Yes, I think that, of course, one of the biggest things is that we as a family, okay, we were pleasantly surprised at the homage that the whole country paid to him when he died. That was really magnificent, and songs came out, and all regions of Zambia, they cried with us. And it reminded us that he once said that, yes, you are my children, but you're not my only children. I've got children all over Zambia. So in effect, then it means that all of us in Zambia, we owned him. All of us had a perspective, some just from reading, some from meeting him, some met him, some didn't, some just from seeing on TV. So we are aware that he is not just, his legacy is not just for us to promote. I think our job is that, okay, fine, he's our father, and in legal terms, the name belongs to us, but we must be prepared to share with our fellow Zambians the father of the nation. So I think that various people, they come up with brilliant ideas of how we can celebrate the 100th centenary, but we are not going to restrict people in terms of what they wish to do, as long as we agree.
So, how do you envision in preserving and promoting Kaunda's legacy for future generations as we go looking beyond the 100th birthday that is coming on 24th of April, 2024?
Well, we noticed that there was, when Kaunda died, I think we really pleasantly surprised and honored that there was such an outpouring of grieving with the family, and we really appreciated that. And it reminded us he was not just our father, but he was president of the country, and he was also called the father of the nation. And also he himself told us, he said that you are my children, but you're not my only children. I've got children all over Zambia. All of Zambia, those are my children. So remember that as you go out there. So we are mindful of that as we move with the legacy forward, it is we should not restrict how we celebrate him, because everybody in this country, or most people, those who knew him, they've got their own, they viewed him from their own angle as they knew him. So they may wish to celebrate in a different way. Some knew that he loved children. Some knew that he loved education. Some knew that he loved farming. So they may wish to select a element of that and celebrate that. And we said that as a family, although we own his name legally, but we shall not confine how we in Zambia celebrate his centenary in April this coming year around the corner. So that's how we look at it. And also we think that from what we hear, in a number of parts of the world, his name is still remembered. So for those who remember him, like I know, for instance, in Angola, we intend to work with the 1 or 2 foundations there in terms of how we work together, their nation and ourselves, in terms of how we remember our heroes, in terms of how we move forward. And also we participated also in remembering even our local heroes here. I remember I attended the last man standing celebration at the, so we attended that one. That was the Scotta winners. So went there, that exhibition. So we need to reflect on our heroes, himself, and those we worked with, and we see how we can move forward. And if you remember, I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about the current generation, but I'm just saying that those early freedom fighters, those were humble people. They were humble because they were not.
Why are you being apologetic?
Because I'm apologizing because I don't hurt the feelings of the educated ones today. Because they were not educated, but they showed that they had a love for the country above self.
Yeah.
And I think that this is missing today. Let's be honest about it. Today,
Are you saying the current generation? Maybe you are saying. Can I rephrase?
You can rephrase
that generation.
Yeah,
you're saying not they were not educated, but maybe they were educated at heart. But the current generation is schooled.
Yes, you can say that. But then I think that we're letting the nation down because we're entering into divisive attitudes. Divisive, because remember, they brought together some 73 different ethnic groups to work together to move forward. Not only to build up Zambia, but also.
Just as you are talking about that,
yes.
Where did the thing? Because one of the hallmark and the tag that Kaunda is remembered for is the One Zambia, One Nation. What happened and why? Somebody may want to appreciate that, especially the current generation may not even know what the Choma Declaration entails. And what was the situation like?
Yeah, what happened that after some 100 years of colonialism, the British Empire gave us our independence. And they gave a system called democracy. Their democracy. Their democracy.
I like that.
Again, I don't cause offense to democracy, but their democracy.
Their democracy.
So, unfortunately, what happened is that their democracy did not work for us. Because if you notice that the Western style democracy is a winner take all. There's no win-win. Somebody has to lose, somebody has to gain. Yeah. And this brought a lot of animosity in Zambia because UNIP won the elections in spite of having worked hand in hand with the ANC to beat the whites. Because the whites went to Hari Mangakumbula and said, no, we'll pay you so much money if you vote with us. Then they would have won. Okay, and UNIP would have lost. But Hari Mangakumbula said, no, I'm an African. I'll work with my fellow Africans. And he voted with UNIP. Now, unfortunately, when elections came and UNIP won, then it meant that in that system, UNIP won everything. ANC had nothing. So that created a lot of animosity. And we found that violence began to creep into the politics. Spears were there, Molotov cocktails. You know what a Molotov cocktail is? A Molotov cocktail is where you put petrol in a bottle, put a cloth, light it, and then throw it to somebody's house. It's a bomb. So that was common. Okay, and we were dying. okay, for the sake of political power. So,
would somebody be correct to tell you should say they were dying because you were
yes.
protected,
In
the
fact-
children
in
of
fact,
political leaders?
In fact, this is what caused them to look at the issue, because I think at one point there was some reflection, and they asked one another, "But you guys, how many of your own children have died in this struggle?" They said, "None." "What about you?" "None." Then why are we asking the children of others to die for our sake because we want to be in politics? Can't we find some other way where those kids don't have to die also? So after discussions back and forth, and I remember what we call the Unique Cowboys, Arthur and Scott Wiener,
Yes,
they played a great role in terms of reconciling the two political parties to agree how can we work together and avoid this mess, because the challenges were the economy and also liberating the countries around us, and we could not do that in a disunited fashion. Okay, as you know, they were taught in the Bible that a kingdom divided will not stand, a family divided will not stand. So they decided that they must be aware of coming together. Because of that, then they decided to have a government of national unity. Because the main thing is that how do we share that political cake, the economic cake, so that we all have a share, a stake in because we're living within the same borders. So they agreed.
The right terminology is the government of national unity instead
Yes.
of one-party participatory democracy.
Because one-party participatory democracy, I think.
But for many people, you say just one-party government.
No, yeah, it's a one-party state. But for us who were there seeing things, we said it's the government of national unity.
Okay.
Because people united. Okay, and the thing is, as you know, that when you agree to work with an opponent or enemy, then there must be compromises made.
To be made, yeah.
Okay, you may not be 100% happy or not, but you agree to work together to move forward, and from there benefits accrue. And in fact, you may notice that in our local languages, in terms of politics, if you go to Europe, they say, "Oh, our opponent, our opponent." They don't say our enemy, our enemy. But here, there's no word for opponent. It's just enemy. Like in Vemba, it's Umulwan. But the Easterners say Numudani. So there are no gray areas, just enemy. So to move away from that, then they said, no, let's have a government of unity. And as you say, you find emphasis. So then what happened at the end? They divided. They say, okay, this post goes to UNIP, this post goes to ANC. Like we say, the most critical one was president and prime minister. President, someone coming from UNIP. Prime minister, someone coming from ANC. So they moved that, and that was encapsulated in the Choma Declaration. So it was at that point then we're able to concentrate now on nation building in terms of building up the economy. Because as you know, the economy was not in Zambian hands. So the primary thing then was, how do you bring the economy which belongs not in our hands into Zambian hands? How do you do it? Okay,
so
how do you
being in two generations, that time and now?
Yes, I know, yes.
Are we on the path of what was being built under the government of national unity with the One Zambia, One Nation? Or we are on the path where we are trading what was before?
I think what's happening now, in my humble opinion, is that we're not concentrating on building the economic interest of the African child. We've lost that. We forget that this child will be, at some point, he'll be 30 years, he'll be 40 years. What are we preparing him for? Right now, we're preparing our kids to be slaves. Because yes, in as much as investment from outside is good, it brings in capital, yes, that's wonderful. But if you have no control, it means you are merely, the one of the country are merely a labor pool. That's all you are.
How are you telling the African story to allow and ensure that there is economic emancipation? After you left active politics, what are you doing? How are you speaking to that young child
Yes,
that youth.
the new path I've taken that I'm in collaboration with various youths, and we're in the process of forming cooperatives so that we can empower them to do business as young people. These are young people like yourself; they're very young, and the idea that we want to have a share of the economy. And the good thing is that right now, cooperatives are being given a good leeway by government. So there's an opportunity now to move forward. So for us to say, in these difficult circumstances where we are, how can we find leverage and move in and begin doing business as young people? Because you see, as I said, the current lot, they're educated kids, they're brilliant, amazingly brilliant. So given the right opportunities, they can do quite a lot. So for us, we're thinking that the cooperative model is the best way forward. Because we accuse the Zambians of failing to work together as Zambians. That always start one of them in the back, and they say if you get a PhD, it's not a PhD, they pull him down. So we think that in this fashion we can raise ourselves up. Because even in the midst of the issues that we have, okay, the dangers that we are facing, there are also opportunities. And we're hoping that by using for my part, it's the skills in terms of organizing, and then the use in terms of their knowledge, and those who are going to help us with capital is investing their capital in it. But if we're well organized, we can grow a Zambian-based economy for ourselves.
That's been the dream of our freedom fighters, one of them being Kaunda. And I remember, I think vividly in the foreword for Humanism, where he wrote that, I can try to remember, where he says, political independence without economic, cultural independence is meaningless. And as such, we remain grateful that there are those initiatives that you're thinking of, and we hope many people who try to prioritize that. As we tell our Zambian story, we try also to invest in having the Zambian-driven economy, as well as the culture that is, we get grounded in who we are as the people. And if we know who we are, I think the solutions and opportunities, they will be exposed and be coming in within our spaces to try to explore them, so that the Zambian problems will be solved by Zambian solutions that we have within ourselves.
And I'll say one thing also is that, and this is one thing which young people need to know. When the Berlin Conference was being done in Germany, and they were carving up Africa into these borders that we have today. We had no stake in that meeting.
You didn't take part.
We did not take part. Neither did our own kings take part. It was just the white people there dividing us. So we need to look at these initiatives we have of saying, no, we don't need visas for Africans. This is a serious thing that we need to consider, that we must allow the flow of goods and services between our different countries. Okay, like for instance, if you look at Malawi and Zambia, if you're moving from Chipata going to Isoka, the road goes one time in Malawi, the next minute you're in Zambia, it goes winding. Okay, and the thing is that you find shops along the way, and you can use kwacha, Zambian kwacha, Malawi kwacha in any of these shops. You can do that. So we're saying that if we know that exists, in fact, if you look at this ceremony of Gawaundi here in Katete, there are chiefs that come from Mozambique, from Malawi, they come because they remember that they're one people. So the politicians need to remember that we must push for a unity, because these states, each state by itself is not strong enough to withstand the pressure that is coming from outside. I don't even have to elaborate what this outside is, but the pressure is a lot. Because the thing is, what you have in Zambia and other countries, you've got a lot of mineral land wealth. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. In fact, if we speak just in terms of principle, there is enough in Zambia to feed all of us, as long as we are organized. Now, this is why it's important that we mustn't stick to the European model of development alone. We must take what is good from them, take what is good from the Chinese, take what is good from the Russians, and then we use it for what works for us. It's what works. But there's no point, for me, I don't agree with the Western model that one suit fits everybody. It's not possible. Okay? My suit must be tailored to me. I'm a skinny guy. So you must tailor to me. Somebody who's larger, like you must put that size. Okay, so for me, I think that we should take also models from around the world and see what works is what works.
You seem to have read and mastered the speech, the watershed speech of 1975 by Kenneth Kaunda, that we have to focus on nationalhood and what we have within, and then where necessary, we can borrow ideas from outside to enhance what we already have. And I get that spirit. Now, Southern Publishers, which is one of the leading publishers, and you have cooperated, and they have worked with President Kaunda from 2018 till his passing and beyond. We still continue to collaborate. I understand they have approached you with the idea to come up with the celebration, the centenary celebration through the reflection of the life of the man.
Yes.
How have you received that, and what is your word to who would be participants, and what do we envision to get come 28th of April 2024?
Yeah. I think the important thing is that we as a family, we don't want to hold the brilliance of ideas back by wanting to control. So we said we're willing to work hand in hand with certain publishers. Let them run with the program. We shall interact and see how we do a good job for the old man, because they are also children of Dr. Kaunda.
I love the breviary, the simplest, to the point of the response that you have given. Now, as we come towards the end of our program, what is it that one question that you thought I was going to ask that I didn't ask you, and what would be your answer?
The question that you're not going to ask me, or you asked me.
That you expected I was going to ask, and I haven't.
That was the three.
No,
not that one.
Yeah.
Oh, the
just any questions that you
should ask me.
That you expected that this one I'll be fired.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful one. I think you should have asked me which way Zambia, which way Africa.
And what would have been your response? Let's give it a go at it.
I would have told it. Zambia, to succeed, must remain united. I will quote the current president of Namibia, who said at one time, he said that the minute you begin thinking that only your tribe is beautiful, the minute you begin thinking that only your tribe is beautiful, you began to go wrong. So, as Zambians, we must rise up out of these wrong thinkings and know that we are one. Dr. Kaunda would say, if you cut my blood here and we cut your blood there, what comes out is red. There's no difference. It's blood made by God's creation. So that's for Zambia. For Africa, the whole point of getting independence for the whole of Africa is that we would all unite, have special engines to drive our economies forward, and move in that way. Not to close up within our various borders. Not a single African country alone can withstand the pressure of globalism which is out there. We can't. That we must face that it is true. We shan't, because what's going to happen if we keep up at this pace? In 200 years from now, there'll be no Africans.
That sounds dangerous, but it's a truth.
It's
a truth, yes. But sounds very dangerous. That it calls for us to reflect on what do we want for Zambia, what do we want for Africa. We are being told the key is one Zambia, one nation. Pamoja, we can develop Africa that we want. Unless we are united, we will be on the losing side.
Absolutely.
This is Nkhani Zathu, the program that aims to tell what is God and what is God. It aims to bring about the positive narrative change so that as we shift our mindset to focus on our arts that tell our stories and that glorify who we are and celebrate what we are. And the program is brought to you by Software Publishers. I have been your host, Sidney Muponda, and today I had the privilege to interact with Tilyenji Kaunda. I would have mastered the other names in between, but let me keep it for the future. And it has been a great learning about the forthcoming 100th birthday for the first president, the founding president of Zambia, and the icon, the man respected across the world, the man who was so committed to contribute to humanity, and he gave it all, and he achieved his assignment before he went back to be with his creator and the ancestors. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, whose 100th birthday falls on 28th of April 2024. And Software Publishers, working with many partners, are working around celebrating the man. And in this celebration, the key is to reflect on who we are and the Zambia and the Africa that we want, that we envision. We always give our guests books so that they can tell stories. So we have something interesting for you so that you can document the stories, because the future generation needs the story, needs those memories from State House, needs those memories to experience as president and a servant to this country, and continue telling the story that you... Great. Thank you, comrade. It has been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Privilege has been mine.
Thank you. Well, you have the responsibility now to share and like our platforms so that this story can spread all over, so that we can continue contribute to the well-being of humanity, especially to the emancipation of Africa and the development of Zambia. Bye for now.
Welcome to Nkhani Zathu, the pod that tells indigenous stories every day, the platform that tells you what's God and what's odd for young people and elderly alike in the areas of art, history, and culture preservation.